All right, so let's talk about the steps to a parallel park. The first step is how we approach to the car that we wish to park behind. So we first need to signal to the right nice and early, about 5 seconds away, to give the vehicles behind us plenty of notice. And we need to pull up as if we're just driving past this car, so don't come angled towards that car or start drifting away unintentionally away from this car. Just pull up nice and straight with this car and line up the back of your vehicle with the back of the vehicle you're going to be parking behind and stop. So when you see the back of the cars in line, that's when you want to stop. And you need to come up slow so you can gauge that accurately. In a car, minivan, or SUV, you'll find the backs are in line when you can see the rear left corner of the parked car. So this corner of the parked car in the back corner of your rear right window. So most cars have that triangle window in the back. So you should see this corner of this car in the corner of your window here. And in a car, minivan, or SUV, that's where it's going to be. In a truck, it might be somewhere on your truck bed. So then the first time you're pulling up with the truck, you would pull up forward enough to be able to have someone from the outside tell you that the backs are in line, and then you can look and see where that corner of the car is hitting the truck bed. But let's stick with sedans, minivans, and SUVs. Now you need to put the car into reverse, steer all the way to the right. You need to perform a 360 check, so left shoulder check, right shoulder check, and if it's clear, granny walk the car back as you look out the back window, right? So you're going to slowly walk the car back, and you're going to go back until you have a slice of cake here between the two cars, right? Over here is your cake, and it should be about 30 degrees. So walk back until you have made what you believe is a 30-degree angle between the two vehicles. And you might say, I don't know what 30 degrees looks like, but don't worry. As soon as you walk back, there's going to be a point where you start asking yourself, is this 30 degrees? And the answer is always yes. So stop going back any further and straighten out your wheel back to center. You're now going to walk the car back diagonally for a bit. So you need to stop here, straighten the wheel back to center, and you're going to walk it back in a straight line. And how far back, you might ask? Until you see the same rear left corner of this vehicle is now in the corner of your mirror here, your front right mirror, your side mirror rather, until you see the same rear left corner of the parked car in the front corner of your front right window. Okay, so this corner here where you've got your mirror. And when we are there, we need to stop and look into that mirror. So look into this side mirror and figure out how much room we've got to the curb. Okay, so I'm going to say look here and figure out how much room you've got to that curb. You need to be able to answer that question, whether it's with your hand, say, okay, I've got this much room, or I've got this much room, or I've got 2 feet, whatever you think you've got there, okay? So we then need to stop and look into the right side mirror and take stock of how much room we've got before our back wheel touches the curb, okay? And on step 3, once you've determined how much space you've got here, you're going to start with a quarter steer to the left. And initially when we do this with students, they're like, I don't know what a quarter steer looks like. So if this is your steering wheel here, right, and sometimes here it will say airbag, or it will have your vehicle emblem here. Maybe it's an Acura for A for Acura. So when you turn it a quarter steer, now the A is going to be in this direction. So you turn it this way, a quarter steer would be here, and then another quarter steer would be your A upside down, right? And then so on and so forth. So now the A is over here, and you've turned the steering wheel 3/4 of the way. So you need to go until you figure out how many of these quarters you have. In most vehicles, you will have 1 1 1/4 steer from the center position all the way to the left most position on your steering wheel. Okay, so you just need to know how much quarter steers you've got. Now, we might not need all the quarter steers on the way in, but what we do is we start with a quarter steer to the left. We're going to roll very slightly as we look into the side mirror to figure out how the car is tucking in. And then there's going to come a point where I pause after a few inches and I ask the students, okay, do you think with this quarter steer, if I give up the rest of my rolling room, will I be able to tuck in before I run out of room? And very often I'll get the answer of no, I feel like we need another quarter steer. So they move on to their second quarter and we do the same thing. We roll a few inches and then I pause and I ask them, okay, do you think this quarter is going to get the job done? And they say, no, I think I need another quarter steer. And they move on to their third quarter and so on and so forth. Okay, so there is going to come a point where the student goes, you know what, I think maybe the third quarter is getting the job done, or maybe the fourth quarter is getting the job done. I don't feel like I need any more steering, in which case we just roll back the rest of the way on that steering wheel position we're on right now until we see in our side mirror we're parallel, the body of the car is parallel with the curb beside us. Okay, so this is really the only way a parallel park should be done. There's a lot of gimmicks online where they say, okay, when you see in your side mirror there's a triangle, that's when you steer all the way to the left and hope for the best. And it might work, let's say in a Toyota Prius, it might work in another car, but then you come and try it in another vehicle with a different turning radius and you find that it's not working the way you intended it. So when you break this into multiple steps at this point, taking pauses, reading the mirror, checking behind you, rolling a bit, pausing, adding the next steering, rolling a bit, pausing, adding the next steering, you're getting a feel for what the mirror is trying to tell you about how you're tucking in and adjusting your quarter steers on the way in.